Were we playing in New York, or are we sure that game wasn't in Colorado?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of July in the year 2025. Where am I going 2025? How am I jumping ahead? You guys know how bad I am sometimes. Dates. Really weird. I don't know. Classic weird Monday, but welcome into today's episode of Locked On Rockies. I was checking my audio at the same time. Maybe that just scrambled my brain. I don't know. But anyway, folks, again, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We are your daily Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do. You can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. You can also find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can help the show grow. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies when you like, subscribe, and leave your reviews for the Locked On Rockies podcast on your favorite audio feeds. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about, of course, the series against the Mets. We're going to talk about the return of Germán Márquez and briefly talk about the draft pick. Why do I say briefly talk about the first draft pick for the Rockies? Well, I'm hoping to get people on to dive deeper into the draft, because I'm just being completely honest here. I'm going complete honesty here. The draft, prospects, college ball, and even into the minor system, something that I am not the most knowledgeable at. And that's why when it comes to talking prospects, I always like to bring people on, because then you can learn something, I can learn something, and we go from there. In case you do want to get it immediate impact, one of the guys that I am trying to talk to that did just post on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, our buddy Jeff from Locked On Guardians. He knows prospects. He studies prospects. That is, not only does he know Guardians baseball, he knows prospects. He knows the college game. He knows the draft game. So he left a quick, immediate thoughts on the shorts feed on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, if you want to go and check that out as well. So we're going to dive into all of that and more. Before we do that, I'm going to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. So, main takeaways as we break down this Rockies-Mets series. And, the big differences and the big main takeaway is, of course, it's just two teams with two different levels, with two different talent levels in terms of just veteran approach to the game. And it's frustrating because of, what I liked about the Rockies, because I'll start with what I liked about the Rockies, is I liked that the Rockies showed fight in 2 out of 3 games in this series, and I liked that the Rockies were showing effort, and I liked the fact that the Rockies went on the road and were hitting the long ball. I believe, I got the retweeted stat here, so let me get that actual one. But it's good to see the power continue to come from Brenton Doyle, of course. I mean, what can you say at this point about this stretch for Brenton Doyle and the increased power for Brenton Doyle? It's absolutely insane what he's doing. There's no universe, nowhere in my mind that I would have had Brenton Doyle at the top of the Rockies leaderboard when it comes to home runs this year. But this weekend, he adds on, he adds a few more home runs onto his total. He continues to just be an absolute force over the most recent stretch. At this point, you can back it up here now. In his last 15 games for Brenton Doyle, he's batting .352 with an OBP of .435 and an .889 slugging. He has 19 hits at that time. In that time, 8 of them are home runs. 15 RBI. But here's another important thing to bring up too about the Brenton Doyle stretch. He's walked 8 times in this stretch of the last 15 games, and he struck out 11. So mean, it's not only the offensive steps that we're seeing. I'm sorry, the power and the home runs that we're seeing. But we're also seeing a more patient Brenton Doyle. We're also seeing a Brenton Doyle get on base via the walk, and we know how important he is when he gets on base. We know how big of a threat he is when he gets on base. Only one stolen bag in the last 15 games, but that's okay. He hasn't had a lot of time to steal bases because he keeps rounding all of the bases. And then another big storyline from this weekend, and something that has to remain true when Chris Bryant comes back in. Michael Toglia continues to demonstrate that he at least deserves the start at first base. I mean, he still has there are still questions, absolutely. There are still things that we need to see and figure out from Michael Toglia. But you know how we're going to figure that out? By continuing to let him play consistently. And I believe Purple Row, I think I saw Purple Row mention that he spoke about how the consistent playing time is helping him pay off. And I believe in his 3 home run game yesterday, he hit a home run from both sides of the plate. There is so much intrigue mixed with the fact that the guy plays great defensively at first base. It was a losing series, and there was a lot of frustration still against the Mets, right? There was still a lot of issues. The walks were a huge deal. We're talking about the Rockies hitting home runs, and we'll get to the issues. But it was a road series in which the Rockies went out there and you actually, like, they went into a loud, hostile environment, and they played good baseball. Like we've seen time and time again this season. Look at the records. When the Rockies play good teams, they rise to the occasion. They certainly try to do more, and this was still a losing series effort. Game 2 was an ugly one. But with the win, and in the first game, the Rockies bounced back from being down multiple, and their young guy continuing to go through the lumps there. You know, I think it's a matter of you feel better when you can see there and you watch the Rockies. They're not going to do that via the home run every time, but at least to see them hit 4 home runs in a game and bounce back after being down by a score of 7-2 in the 5th, and then the Rockies make it a plate 4 in the 7th and the 8th, make it an interesting game, showing some fight. You love that, and especially when you're seeing the people that are contributing are Brenton Doyle and your Brendan Rodgers and your Michael Tolias. I mean, and Charlie Blackmon had a home run in that game. And then, of course, in the finale, I mean, it was everybody getting in on the home run action. Ezekiel Tovar, a multi home run game. Brenton Doyle, another home run. Michael Toglia hitting the 3 bombs. I mean, for those guys specifically to hit 6 home runs in a game, and it's McMahon, Toglia, and Doyle doing it, that's a big deal. Like when you're looking and you're thinking about, I mean, if those guys, if Toglia gets a solid amount of playing time and continues to highlight that he can hit for power and he continues to be, he might be that a slugging first baseman that's going to have issues, just hitting to get on base. It's still not that's still successful for some people, and Michael Toglia makes the infield defense for the Rockies better because he is the best defensive option over there for the Rockies. Michael Toglia in his last 15 games is batting .220, .317, and slugging .640. He's got 11 hits and 50 at-bats, 11 RBI, and 7 of those hits are home runs. He's walked 8 times, struck out 15. He's got 2 stolen bases. So I think at this point, he's not only earned it with the power bat, but everything else just kind of points to, let's see what happens when Toglia gets to get consistent at-bats, play a month and a half in a row, knowing that he's the starter. That's why when you factor in Chris Bryant's the DH, plain and simple, done. If he can't stay healthy playing the field, if you're going to be worried about that, done. He's DHing the rest of the season. He should not see the field for the rest of the season. As a defender, if you're he with all of the injury concerns and all that stuff, no more trying to stick him in right field. Not even first base, so he can tweak his back on a twist play. You have Toglia to play there. If Chris Bryant is to play and be back this season, he needs to be primarily a DH. But there was a lot of, there were missed opportunities. The bullpen was shaky again. There was still plenty of things to be frustrated about in this series against the Mets. But their bullpen also stepped up in some areas too. The bullpen also backed up Tanner Gordon. I mean, it was, Peter Lambert had to go through it, but he went 3 2/3, only allowed an earned run. And it's interesting, Justin Lawrence coming out of the pen a little bit earlier in games and saw some success in this one. Not, he got the couple of strikeouts, 2 scoreless performances, didn't let up any score runs in the first game as well. Did he pitch in game 3? He did pitch and had another couple of strikeouts. So really interesting to see. I wonder what that means for Lawrence. I mean, I wonder if him coming in earlier in the game just at this stage takes a little bit of stress off of him. He's a little more comfortable up there, but had success coming out of the bullpen earlier. And, it still stinks. It still stinks when you see the bullpen have the same issues, but a lot of them stepped up this weekend. Even in the series lost, the bullpen kept it close in game 1. The bullpen shut the door in game 2 or in game 3. In game 2, you lost. That's just that's how it goes sometimes. The Rockies were striking out a lot against the starter, but at the end of the day, the main storylines from the offensive side are young players continue to light the way, and again, not only is Doyle doing it, but Ezekiel Tovar's back. He broke his slump. He's on a multi-game hitting streak. He just had a multi-home run, and that's exactly what we were hoping to see, right? And that's what we had confidence in seeing with Tovar. We knew he was going to be there because we've seen him break out of slumps before. That just adds icing on the cake of your confidence in Ezekiel Tovar. 0 for 30 streak, follows it up with a 6-game hitting streak with the multi-home run game to finish off the series against the Mets. I got completely sidetracked, and I didn't read the stat that I wanted to read, but this is from Rockies Club information. The Rockies' 12 home runs over the last 3 games at Citi Field are the most in a road series in franchise history. Previous 10 home runs twice. Last was April 4th through 6th, 2016 at Arizona. Colorado has hit 18 home runs on a road trip of at least 7 games 3 times. July 12th through 14th of 2024, 7 games. July 23rd through August 1st of 2021, 10 games. And April 22nd to May 5th, 1999, 13 games. So, as you can see, it was a historical amount of home runs the Rockies hit this weekend. It was really fun to watch because when your team's hitting the home runs, it is very, very, very fun to watch. Okay, let's talk about the other big story of this weekend and the big story of Game 3, the return of Germán Márquez. Let's do that coming up in segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival city. Plan a Rockies road trip. Plan a trip to go check out the Rockies in a different ballpark. And maybe it doesn't have to just be the NL West rivals. Maybe you want to look at something going to the East Coast. Maybe you do want to make a California trip out of it. Go catch the Rockies in California and some other California teams. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival cities. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com. That's Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Booking.yeah. We are also brought to you by SupplyHouse USA. SupplyHouse.com has got you covered here when it comes to all of your needs when you are looking for things in the skilled trade. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person. Yes, a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trade can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Little water break there, but welcome back in to the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Shout outs to all my everydayers out there. Shout outs to all of y'all for tuning in, and shout outs to SiriusXM. If you want to go and get all your Rockies play-by-play in the second half of the season, now that the All-Star break is here. Do we call this halftime? Do we call? I know there's like probably the official number of halftime, but All-Star break's pretty much halftime for baseball, any sport really. But you can check out all the action all season long on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. And don't forget, Locked On Sports Today has got you covered with all your daily sports coverage. All the sports, all your favorite hosts, all on one 24/7 streaming channel. Go check it out there. Okay, the big story. Something that honestly, truly, really, absolutely is a game changer for the Colorado Rockies. I don't. Yes, again, is Germán Márquez an ace for other teams? No. Is Germán Márquez technically an ace? I think before the injury and during his All-Star season, he was on that track. I think that got derailed. He's an ace for the Rockies. And he is an elite pitcher. And his return to the Colorado Rockies can't be understated. Let me just go through some names here, and let's just go through some strikeouts here from Germán's last full seasons of pitching. So not 2023, of course. And these are all of the seasons excluding his injury season shortened and the pandemic season. If you're looking for context, though, for the pandemic season, 73 strikeouts over 81 innings for Germán Márquez in the pandemic. Germán Márquez has strikeout totals of 147, 230, 175, 176, and in his last fully healthy season for the Colorado Rockies, 150 strikeouts. Kyle Freeland, in his entire career, has struck out more than 150 batters once, and that was back in 2018. This year, he has 30 strikeouts. Austin Gomber has never struck out more than 113 batters in his career. This year, he has 67. Cal Quantrill has never struck out more than 128 batters in his career. This year, he has 78. Ryan Feltner has never struck out 100 batters in his career. And so I know Ryan Feltner is not the best example. I just wanted to pull a few. Here, let's keep going here. Dakota Hudson. And Dakota Hudson's back in the minors, by the way, in case you're curious. Was not claimed on waivers. Dakota Hudson has had one season of 136 strikeouts, has not touched 100 strikeouts since then. The point is, Germán Márquez strikes people out. And that's what the Rockies have been desperately missing during his absence. It is so abundantly clear what has been missing from this Rockies pitching staff and from this rotation and from the bullpen and from the overall focus and belief in pitching philosophy and approach to the Rockies is getting away from the strikeout. When everybody is weak contact, do this, do that, it doesn't always work because you don't always hit your spots. You have pitchers that are prone to walks. You have pitchers that are prone to missing over the middle of the zone. Again, I want to remind you, when you think about those numbers I told you from other pitchers, from these Rockies pitchers, Germán Márquez, 147 strikeouts, 230 strikeouts, 175 strikeouts, 176 strikeouts, and 150 strikeouts. Now, this is the new arm. It's the new look. It's the new Germán. It's, we have to see what happens, and there are things to be concerned about. but it's Germán Márquez there's a reason why he set the record for most strikeouts as a Rockies pitcher, because it's part of his repertoire. It's part of what he does, and it's so important because you want to know how you negate Coors Field. You want to know how you negate those blowouts. You want to know how you can be successful being a Rockies pitcher, missing bats, striking people out, and we've seen now for a season and some change what happens when the Rockies go do not have a staff that can strike people out. I mean, look at that first inning for Germán. And it got rocky, and the walks were there. My biggest concern with Germán coming back from what we saw during his rehab stuff was he was still walking people. He has the control issues. But again, this is 14 months of recovery leading up to this. And the guy still came out and pumped and got 3 strikeouts against a Mets lineup that was swinging a hot bat going in there. Not only to mention that he is he a fan favorite, a former All-Star, and someone that is clearly beloved in that locker room as well. The importance of Germán Márquez can't be understated. I mean, and it's the Rockies still end up hanging in there and being in the game in which Germán isn't sharp, and it's one of his first things. I mean, are you blown away by 4 innings, 3 earned, with 4 hits, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts? No. But I am impressed by what I saw in that first inning, because when Germán gets built back up, when Germán gets to be, when he feels comfortable, when he's got a few starts under his belt to the point where he's actually feeling like himself again, we might be seeing a situation with a 10 strike where we can go and look at a Rockies pitcher and say, it's not that crazy to think that he should get 5+ strikeouts in a game, because that's what Germán does versus everybody else that we have to hope and pray are going to hit over 3 strikeouts. Cal Quantrill with the exception. Cal Quantrill can strike some people out, and so is Ryan Feltner in situations. We have seen the strikeouts play a role, but it's never one of their foregone strengths. It's never their big the big draw. Why I love watching Germán Márquez is because he can step up on the mound and he'll strike you out. He'll strike you out, and he wants to strike you out. I think every pitcher, some they'll probably philosophy is different. Everyone loves to get a strikeout, certainly. But with the other Rockies pitchers, you don't necessarily feel like that's going to happen. With Germán, it's a different story. So certainly, still, there's still time to go. Still, plenty more that we want to see from Germán Márquez, especially, again, not the most perfect return, but a major, big, significant, important return for the Colorado Rockies. Okay, let's wind down the show. Let's talk a little bit about the draft pick, and let's look ahead to, it's all, I think, what's Home Run Derby tonight? Home Run Derby tonight. We'll talk maybe a little Derby, talk a little bit about the draft pick, all coming up here next on Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about our friends at Game Time. And, what better way to bring up the story you've probably heard me bring up a few times on the show than the All-Star Game. I used Game Time to get into the All-Star Game last year. It was one of the best decisions I made. I was sitting at a bar. I was like, you know what? I'm at least going to go downtown, and I'm going to go be amongst the festivities. I'll just hang out. I don't think I'm going to go to the game. I don't know if I'm going to splurge on the ticket. I don't know. And then I'm sitting, I'm talking with these people, and they're telling me to buy a ticket, and I'm looking on Game Time, and the prices are dropping, and they're dropping. And you know what? I'm on the Game Time app. I pressed my button that says all-in pricing, so I know exactly the price. I'm not getting hit with any fees. So when I'm tracking these prices, I know exactly what I'm getting, and they got a picture. So I got a view of where I'm going to sit, and then boom, 10 minutes before first pitch, maybe a little bit earlier. I mean, I wanted to get in a little bit before. So maybe like 20, 30 minutes before first pitch, I see a perfect seat at my perfect price, 3 clicks, boom, 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 I'm done. I have a ticket. I'm in the All-Star Game, and I watch Elias Diaz win it in one of my favorite Rockies memories of all time. See for yourself on all the MLB tickets, all the tickets for everything they got going for you at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Yes, $20 off your first purchase when you use the code LOCKEDONMLB. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Folks, this is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your favorite Rockies content right here. If you like the show, go subscribe. Go check us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. So close to 900 YouTube subscribers. Really would appreciate your help over there. But shout-outs to our everydayers. Shout-outs to all of you for tuning in all the time. And shout-outs to Locked On Sports Today. If you need more 24/7 constant sports coverage, that's your home for it from the Locked On Network. And SiriusXM's got you covered for all your Rockies play-by-play all season long. Also available on the SiriusXM app. I love the Rockies' first draft pick. Charlie Condon, I believe is Condon, I believe is how you pronounce the name. Like I said, I'm being real. I don't watch a lot of college ball. Prospects and things are something that I don't follow. But what I've seen in the immediate reaction, it's not only a great story. So he was a walk-on, and so I'm reading a little bit here from Thomas Harding. Again, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And our buddy Jeff from Locked On Guardians, there's a great 1 minute short up on the YouTube feed. But he was a walk-on, earns his way, and now he's the highest pick in Bulldogs history. And I mean, just you got to think of that. And what is it that the Rockies really loved? And man, you read reports about the Rockies. They said they were jumping for joy that this guy fell to them. Some people are saying face of the franchise potential, but the big thing is it's the bat. The dude swings a huge. The guy apparently rips home runs. Jeff in his analysis was saying that he could be a home run leader, a home run king. It's a perfect fit for Coors Field. Here's some from Thomas Harding. MLB.com's number 2 draft prospect, who began his college career as a preferred walk-on in Georgia, led all players this season in average, home runs, OPS, and total bases. Those 37 home runs were the most by a D1 player since 2011. At one point this season, Condon homered in 8 straight games, one shy of tying the NCAA record. That's a Rockies Blake Street bomber. Listen, when you have the chance to grab someone that has the offensive potential that can be like that at your offensive-friendly environment, that's the move. Pitching, yes. But there are so many ways to get there. There's so many arms that you could still get in the draft, and I believe the Rockies did make some moves. Like I said, we will do and get a full deep dive into the draft and the Rockies moves here when we meet up, and hopefully when we meet up with some folks here that could give us more insight into the Rockies draft. So please, I believe Blake, you want to go check out Blake Street Banter. You're of course going to want to go see Purple Row, MLB.com. They're going to have, if you need that information, like right now, all the main hubs of Rockies information will have it. But my immediate takeaway is, the Rockies have needed a high-profile, big power bat guy in the system that's going to come up. And he plays first base and outfield. That's exactly what if you're the Rockies, it's exactly what you could be looking for there. Putting him in some different positions. Seeing, what happens as first base continues to go on, totally as he's going to go on. I like that. Also, he was in college. He's a little older, so going to be able to get to the majors a little bit quicker, I think, ideally. But it's when you have a guy that the immediate reaction is home run champ, home run impact, you get really excited by that stuff. But I am definitely totally love that the Rockies were in a situation where they said, this is our guy. If he falls to us, we're taking him. And not just leaning solely pitcher. Because if you're in a draft and you're in a situation and there's a best player available, there is someone that can impact that. Because I believe it's very rare for the Rockies to draft that type of player in that position. I think I was seeing in some reaction as well. If you're confident and you like that guy, and again, you heard those stats of him being a huge offensive threat throughout college baseball last year, then you love, and then you got to be excited by that. And I think you go for that because there's going to be more pitchers in there. You can always the trade deadline's coming up, and what do you hope the Rockies are trading to acquire? Pitching. So for the Rockies, for him they're going to get their guy and a guy that can be as impactful. If it lives up to what it could be, I love it. I think that's an exciting pick, and I haven't seen any negative reaction to the pick. I've seen a lot of excitement around the pick from just about everybody. So really, really cool to see. All right, folks. No Rockies baseball for the week, basically, as the All-Star game is here. The Home Run Derby is tonight. Don't have time to dive into it. We'll see it. I like the Home Run Derby. It's a fun time. Go enjoy it. And, folks, we'll be breaking down all things Rockies, reviewing the first half of the season, going through things this week, so don't miss out. And, folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast. But before I do, go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. Or if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs got you covered, free and streaming as well. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.